But let's just take this one further question, perhaps not at too great length, from Lois Roberts, please. Lois.
15 minutes to discuss post-Brexit devolution insults our Celtic nations. Are you surprised that the SNP walked out?
SNP walked out. The SNP walked out of or kicked out of the House of Commons yesterday because they objected to the moves that would have Westminster take powers they thought should remain in the Scottish Parliament, and it wasn't properly debated. Leanne Wood, were you in sympathy with the SNP walkout?
Yes, I was, and I stand in solidarity with that move. Powers have been grabbed from our national institutions in Scotland and Wales. Brexit is being used as an opportunity to take powers back. We talk all the time about recognising the will of the people and honouring this Brexit referendum. Well, there are other referendums that need to be honoured as well. One took place in 1997, which established the National Assembly for Wales and the Scottish Parliament, and another one took place in 2011, which established the National Assembly as a lawmaking parliament. Those referendums both increased and progressed the powers of our National Assembly, and that is the will of the Welsh people, to continue with devolution and not to run it.
Is the idea that some of these powers that, as you say, have been taken back will be returned after a fixed period of time? They're just for the process of negotiation, or do you not believe that?
Well, that's what they say, but I don't trust the Tories on this at all. I'm very, very disappointed, actually, in the Labour government in Wales, because they signed up to an agreement with the Tories that has enabled this power grab. And just as they failed to properly oppose Theresa May in Westminster, they failed to oppose this move, and it was Plaid Cymru who stood firm on this, and the SNP are obviously doing the work that they're doing in the Westminster Parliament as well. But this is a really serious issue. We should not be in a situation where we have to defend our National Assembly against a power grab from Westminster. It's outrageous, and we should all be very, very angry about it.
John Mann.
There won't be a majority in Parliament to ever have a power grab, as Parliament's currently constituted. So I don't think Labour MPs who will be voting for that to happen. If there's a Labour government, that won't be happening. If there's a Labour government, there will be more devolution of powers. If it was left to me, we'd be going further than we've said before, both in relation to more powers to Scotland and more powers, and significally more powers to Wales, and indeed to the English regions as well.
All right.
You know, because devolving power is one of the reasons that some of us were keen not to see an increasingly centralised European state as was beginning to emerge. We want powers removed to the local level. And that's part of the motivation for many people.
No, but as a researcher,
come on, we must keep moving. Isabella,
well, I'll be very brief. I mean, I'm never in sympathy with the SNP. I want this country to stay together. And I'm not impressed by amateur dramatics in the House of Commons. I think the SNP is just sore because they realise that enthusiasm for independence is dying.
Okay. Matthew Wright.
I'm quite sympathetic to Leanne's view of not trusting the Tories on this, and I think there's evidence today that you've seen from the Scottish Secretary, David Mundell, telling Scotland very bluntly, you're not a part of the UK, you're not a partner of the UK, you're part of the UK. And I think that is a very provocative and incendiary thing for someone in his position to say, and that does suggest to me that the Tories may have an agenda with regards to the SNP.
And Dominic Grieve, can you be brief on this one? So we're halfway.
I'll be very brief. The SNP had a point. The programming was inadequate and didn't provide enough time to debate issues that were of importance to them, although I did think it was histrionics and they shouldn't have done it that way. There were other ways in which they could have registered their protest.
We wouldn't be talking about it now, then.
Well, yeah, but ultimately it goes down very badly in Parliament. That's all I can say to you. And they didn't earn brownie points for doing it.
Scotland must have
As for the power grab,
Members.
the repatriation of powers from Brussels, which were previously exercised in Brussels, is a real and genuine problem to which there isn't an easy solution. And the government has actually worked really hard to try to put together something which respects the fact that nominally some of these powers were previously devolved in Wales and Scotland. And I approve of the way the government's approached it. It's done its very best in what's actually a difficult circumstance.
You up there on the right, and then I come to you at the very back there. Yes.
These powers, you say, claim they haven't been grabbed. These are powers over areas such as agriculture, such as the environment. These are areas which are entirely devolved to Wales and Scotland at the moment, and Westminster has no say whatsoever in them. So in taking these powers to Westminster, they are being taken away from us. And you say it's only temporarily, but it's for 7 years, which is a very long time in politics. I used to say 7 days, but 7 years now. And the government, whether it's Tory or Labour, can make all sorts of regulations on the environment, on our farmers. And I feel that there's very unlikely, after 7 years, that they're going to sit back and say, well, we'll give these back and leave it to the Assembly.
Do you think it's a deliberate attempt to undermine devolution? Is that what you're saying?
I'm afraid
not the complexity of the EU Westminster arrangement.
Yes, I'm afraid I do. I think that the Conservative Party in particular is trying to row back on devolution. They've seen with the independence referendum in Scotland how close Scotland came to becoming independent, and they're trying to grab powers back now and reverse devolution.
A lot of people my age don't even know that this power grab and this shift in power is happening, and it's quite a serious thing because it's undemocratic. Do you think that if broadcasting was devolved to Wales and people would have more news and more information about what's going on in Wales, that people could engage in the debates better?
You think there's a shortage of news about Wales in Wales?
Yeah, since I think 35 years, there's just one Welsh language channel, there's one radio channel in Welsh, and it's other countries like Basque Country and Catalonia have several news in English. It's just like half an hour at the end about Wales. There's not a full discussion. Everything seems to be about Britain. Even tonight, only Leanne lives in Wales on this panel. So.
Can I answer that point? Because it's a really important point. There's a huge information deficit about Welsh politics, to the extent that ahead of the last National Assembly elections in 2016, a third of the people voting believed that the health service was still being run by the Tories in Westminster, and half of people voting believed that education was being run by the Tories in Westminster, when that isn't the case. Those decisions are being made by a Labour government in Cardiff Bay, and if people don't understand who are making those decisions, how can they make a fully informed choice when they go to the vote?
I'm forced to move on because time is passing. We're going to be in Birmingham next Thursday, by the way, and the week after that next. And on the screen there are the details of how to apply, which I'll give at the end. But let's go on to another question. This from David Ratcliffe, please. David Ratcliffe.